Hello, everyone, and welcome to this session of Lightning Talks, and we'll do our best to do a quick transition every 15 minutes. At last year's NDC London, I was listening to a talk by David Whitney, who is an excellent speaker. He's speaking here tomorrow. I thoroughly recommend. And he said this. He said, "I'd never wish a successful open source project on anyone." And it shocked me. And it shocked me because, to me, this is what a successful open source project looks like. These are my colleagues at Umbraco, the open source.Let CMS. We're based here in Denmark, a short journey on the train to Odense. Thank you. Every person in this photo earns a living working at a company built around an open source product. There's about 150 of us, 20 people full-time are engineers on the core open source CMS that is free, completely free, and will stay free. And in case you haven't spotted me, that's me. But of course, products like Umbraco are not what David Whitney was referring to. He was thinking of projects like the libraries, Automapper, and Mediator. These two packages have a combined download total on NuGet of over 1 billion, and yet they are maintained by one person, Jimmy Bogard, who I don't think is in the room, so I can talk about him. For about 10 years, James Newton King was the solo maintainer of JSON.NET, which was basically used by pretty much every .NET project back in the time. And there's a reason why the XKCD dependency cartoon was released, depicting all modern digital infrastructure depending on some random punter in Nebraska thanklessly maintaining the product since 2003. Now, James Newton King is in Wellington, New Zealand, and Jimmy is in Texas. He is a bit random, but I think they'll both agree of the term thanklessly maintaining. So why thankless? Well, it's not just maintaining the code base. If you're a successful open source maintainer, you have to get good at documentation. You have to triage issues, understanding, trying to help people who have problems with your product. You have to replicate bugs. You have to care about security vulnerabilities that might be in your code and handle them responsibly. You need to release new versions when bugs have been fixed. Heaven forbid you want to release breaking changes. You need to communicate that with your regular users so they don't get cross with you. And you have to manage the community who use your product. And trust me, I work in developer relations. I can tell you, part of my job is to handle the community and people and working asynchronously with people over GitHub, people you don't know. It takes time. It takes empathy. It takes energy. And if you're not being paid for it, I get paid for it. It's absolutely fine. I love it. But if you're not getting paid for it, it can be exhausting. So it's not surprising that we hear that open source maintainers suffer from burnout. Projects get neglected, and in that scenario, we all lose. I don't know if you agree with this term that I've used, that James Newton King was rescued by Microsoft, but he did end up getting a full-time job at Microsoft. He doesn't work on that product anymore, but he apparently is happy in what he does do. Jimmy Bogard, I call, is in the process of rescuing himself. So he's taken the time and the brave jump to invest in going commercial with the Automapper and Mediator libraries. When he first started, he worked at a company that relied on these code bases for about 5 years for their client projects, so they supported him. They were the sponsors, ostensibly, of these projects. But when he left that company, he was earning his own living. None of the clients that were paying him money needed this code, so he was working on supporting this in his spare time, and he acknowledges himself he didn't have the time. The project got neglected, things that he wanted to do, he just didn't have the time for. He had to prioritize earning a living and raising his children over caring about the issue that you sent him the night before a client demo because something didn't work. But as I say, he's in the process of rescuing himself, so now, for the next releases of AutoMapper and Mediator, if you want to use them, you need to pay the money if you're a company of a certain size. It's an incredibly generous community tier, so individuals, you don't need to panic, you don't need to pay money, but people who are used to paying money for things, they should be paying money for the licenses. Then everyone wins. Jimmy will be able to spend a significant proportion of his time supporting these products, growing these products, supporting the community. He's opening Discord servers to help people use his projects. Everyone wins in this scenario. There's another very widely used .NET project, Fluent Validation. There's a chap in the UK called Jeremy Skinner, who I believe has been the solo maintainer of that for nearly 15 years. Again, a huge number of downloads on NuGet. Now, like a lot of open source projects, he's gone the route of asking for sponsorship, using the please pay me if you use my project for commercial reasons. Commercial, as in you're making money from using his software. If that's the case, could you pass some of it on to him so that he can keep supporting the software that you make money from? The trouble is, not enough of us do that. There is an uncomfortable truth that it is often a one-way street in open source, that companies have been saving time, saving money, and using the free labor and not contributing back to the projects in any way, which is entirely legal. The open source permissive licenses like MIT say, you may keep taking and taking, you do not need to give back. But just think about what happens when that project that your company relies upon has an issue, and you raise that issue, and the maintainer who's been busy at work earning a living gets back and sees your issue and has to choose between reading his kid a bedtime story or caring about your issue. I hope he chooses the kid's bedtime story, to be honest. Sorry for your issue. But it's not a healthy situation that we're in. And the cumulative impact of all this taking is why I have used this punchy title, that open source is broken. So, what can we do about it? Well, I'm going to set you a challenge. I'd like you next week to go back to your place of work and take a really good look at the dependencies that you have on open source. What free and open source software do you rely on where you work? How much time have these projects saved you? What have they enabled you to do that you would have never been able to do yourself? It's not just a question of we didn't have to build that code. Maybe you didn't have the skill set to even go anywhere near. I'd say look at ImageSharp, if you know what I'm talking about. What would you do if these projects disappeared? And then go and look at the maintainers of these projects. How can you and your team help these volunteer maintainers to improve the healthiness of these projects? Now, one obvious thing is money. You can, please, if open source maintainers say they're going commercial, please do not use the phrase, oh, they're pulling the rug. There's no rug to be pulled. When you release software, you say, at this point in time, this license covers this code base. You are entitled to use that piece of software. That's where the entitlement ends. There is no, oh, but I thought it would be free forever. No one said that would be the case. So if a library goes commercial, pay the license. If they've gone the Fluent Validation route, check the README, see if they're asking for sponsorship on GitHub. Recognize the value that this project brings to you on your monthly fee to GitHub by being a GitHub sponsor. And if you need a new feature, for example, offer to pay them to build the feature. You would never expect a contractor to work for free, so why should some random person in Nebraska work for free for you? And the reality is, if you can afford Azure, you can afford to sponsor your open source dependencies. If you work at an agency, if your clients can afford Azure, they can afford for you to add on a little percentage to your bill Tell them it's to support the open source maintainers that their software relies on. They probably don't realize it. I would like to think that that would make them feel good about themselves, that they're giving back to the open source industry. The other thing, though, it's not just about money, and I know that lots of us in the room probably don't write the checks. That makes me sound old. But time. If we can donate time to projects, that would also be a massive help as well. And by that I mean getting employers to allow, if not mandate, that if you use open source software, your employees donate time to helping maintain those projects. You don't have to be the maintainer to go and replicate an issue, to go and put comments, say, your issue doesn't make sense, I need more information from you. You haven't even said which version of the project you're using. You don't have to be the maintainer to start that conversation with the person that raised the issue. Perhaps it's a duplicate that you can see. You can go and put a comment, it's a duplicate. All these little things that you can do that won't take very much time in your day job will really help the maintainers. You can improve documentation. You can review pull requests. Now, I haven't suggested you make pull requests, because code pull requests cost maintainers time, and coding's usually the fun bit, right? That's why they release this software in the first place. That's why most of us get up in the morning. But reviewing other people's pull requests, that takes time. And if you can do a first review of it, you can then have some input, and if other people see you doing this, they might just be inspired to do the same. When they realize you don't have to be the maintainer to have an opinion on whether this code is good, they might start doing the same. You'll inspire others. It's called the ripple effect. And if we all keep chipping away and helping these maintainers keep these projects that we're dependent on, everyone will benefit. So I appreciate my talk title probably should have been that some of open source is broken, and it may be your company's fault. But that wasn't quite as catchy as the one I went with. So I'd just like to finish up with thanking you in advance. I'd like to thank you in advance for going back to where you work and looking at the open source dependencies that you have. I'd like to thank you in advance for talking to the powers that be, saying, I want to contribute to these projects. I want to spend 1 week, oops, that's not going to fly, don't try that. I want to spend 1 hour a week just trying to help. There's 300 issues on this project. I think I could help 5 a week. That will help. I think you will make a big difference. I think you'll get a lot from it as well. You will, it's quite a selfish activity, helping other people, all the dopamine. And for the Gen Zers in the room, I understand that you look for validation quite frequently. The maintainers will thank you. The maintainers will say, wow, you're doing a great job. You're making a difference to this project. Please keep doing it. So, Gen Zers, it's up to you. Thank you very much. I hope I'm on time with my next lightning talk. And if you see me around, I love talking about this stuff, so please stop me and talk to me. Thank you very much.